So 60 seconds, and Tunde, would you like to start? And then Finley and Liam.
Hello. Okay. Hi, my name is Tunde Lashore. I'm a PhD student here at the university. I initially did my master's here as well, which was in what's now called oil and gas engineering. I was out there for a while working and decided to come back here and do a PhD. And I'm looking to be voted as your SAB, as a SAB for education, so as an education officer. And having been out there, haven't been in the industry, I think I can help the university, help the students change, move from being, like, transition is the word I want to use, from students into the workforce. You know, I know what the employers out there are looking for, what they want us to be, how we can hold seminars, workshops, and understand how we need to reposition ourselves, how we need to engage with the industry to get there and to be part of that, which is really our aim for after coming to study. So that's just one of my aims, and I hope you vote for me. Yeah.
Thank you. Finley, 60 seconds.
Hi, I'm Finley, fourth year maths student. We've seen some of the biggest cuts to our education of the last huge amount of time, right? So one of the biggest factors for me in running for this position is that we need a students' association that will actually stand up for students. I want to talk about me, my background. I've been the school convener for natural and computer science for the last couple of years. So I've been involved in a lot of these kind of education campaigns. But I've also been an activist in wider campaigns, such as organising students against the course cuts that we've seen here, or nationally campaigning for sort of free education, other education-related issues. So I want to be a SAB that's here to empower students and to help actually get them organised and the work they do themselves. A lot of students on a voluntary basis or unpaid activist basis, the kind that we've seen over the last year on our campus, and actually facilitate the empowerment of students, because that's what I think a student association is for. Sure we'll get into talking about policy, so I'll leave that till we get some questions from you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Hello, I'm Liam. I've been the education president for the last year. And I'm running to hopefully be your education officer again. My main manifesto focuses on quality, transparency, representation, and support. They're the four key things which I believe that your education should absolutely deliver for you. We don't necessarily need to focus on things outside your curriculum all the time, because you are here to do your degree. And we need to make sure that at the end of the day, the bottom line is that you get what you want out of your degree and you can go where you need to. Hidden course costs this year have really rocketed, and I think it's about time we got the university to commit to a contractual agreement with the association that we make sure that they aren't there, or at least when they have to be, you know about them. So if you're a geologist and have to go to Utah for the summer, you don't have to wait until November to find out how much that costs. You can find out at the beginning, or even when you actually come to do your degree. We also need to reach out to those students that we have historically really struggled to engage with at AUSA, so parents in education, distance learners, postgraduate students even. We only have 4 postgraduate student representatives from AUSA, and that needs to change. We'll get on in a minute to some more questions, so please consider me when you vote.
Good. Okay, thank you guys very much. And I do realize you might hate me for this, but it's getting quite late. So what I'm trying to do is to keep the answers quite short, which I do have faith in you that you'll be able to keep it condensed. So you've heard the first 2 questions. Let's just start off with the first one. I'm going to ask you, Liam, to go first. Communications between AUSA and the majority of students can be very limited. How would you make sure to get our message out there and get student buy-in on our activities?
So yes, as Laura just said, it's really difficult to communicate with students, and that's probably because we've expanded in such a way with social media and networking that we have so many different avenues. Everything gets diluted, and I think we need to go back to square one. We need to be more creative for how we approach our students and how we deliver that message. So instead of having so many avenues of communication that we have, we need to bring it and roll it back into one, and we need our sabbatical officers to be at the forefront of what we tell our students and when or what events we're doing are out there. So one of the things I really want to look into is a centralized way in which we can promote all our societies, all of our students, sports clubs, education, all of our officers' events into one easy-to-find area, so that it's not one officer has one page, one officer has another. We can see what everybody's doing and everybody can buy into it straight away.
Okay, Finley.
I think it comes down to SAB should be out working to actively engage students, not just passively engage students. When we look at the kind of campaigns that we expect our SABs to be running, we should be out on campus and actually actively talking to students. I've been doing this for years in various different campaigns. It's really enjoyable. It's great fun. I think it's a case of getting out of the office sometimes, making sure we're out on campus, up in places like Forester Hill. Over the past year, we've seen a lot of this essential work essentially being done by groups of sort of unpaid and kind of coordinated activist groups. I think we need a sabbatical team which actually, actively takes charge of the organisation and actually gets out and talks to students like in real life. And because social media is quite a passive kind of thing, unfortunately. People ignore emails, people ignore Facebook updates. So,
Okay, thank you, Tunde.
All right. That's actually one of my mandates, to actively engage with course reps and fellow students. So I will be going out there to get feedback from everyone, and so I can push this forward through in terms of policy adjustments or whatever needs to be done. So this will be through, hopefully, through one-on-one meetings, lots of that. I will be going out there. It's easy for information to be lost in emails, sending an information out through an email and not to properly grasp the gist of that email. So one-on-one forums would give that avenue for proper communication, and this is what I would be looking to champion as my best communication means.
Good, okay, thank you. So the second question, and I'd like you to start first, is our equality networks are crucial to our missions and values. How would you support them and incorporate their input into every project that your role undertakes?
I hope to capture this in policies and in true general open communication. The fairness, equality, it should be spoken. It should be spoken out loud. It should be spoken of in every place, in every quarter. So that is the way I would look to be achieving equality for every part, everybody, even the disabled as well. Access to education should be for all. That's actually written in my mandate as well. So that's how I look forward to achieving this. Thank you.
Thank you. Finley.
Just kind of segue this into policies. I want to make sure that our curriculum reflects the diversity of our student body, and is specifically working with liberation groups, along with other organisations and class reps, and feeding into course feedback systems, and with staff as well, to make sure that we have greater diversity in our curriculum. And this is something that I think a wide range of people involved in liberation forums can be involved in as well. And also want to make sure that we actually take an active fight against the prevent agenda, because the prevent agenda is something which is a government policy, which is racist, which is Islamophobic, and which we need a student association to stand up and fight for the rights of those students who are discriminated by it. And thirdly, kind of making sure that disabled students in particular have the awareness made available to them about the support there is. I want to abolish the cost of medical certificates. I want to make sure that everyone has the support they need throughout their studies.
Okay, thank you. Liam.
I just want to echo the prevent agenda there. It's really important that an association really does stand up against anything which, is Islamophobic specifically, and any other form of phobias which try and stop the freedom of education. Diversifying your curriculum is one of the things that's in my manifesto, and I think it's really important that we ask the question, for instance, why is our curriculum so white? Why don't we talk about LGBT key speakers, key thinkers in all of our educational topics? And that doesn't have to be your history, your humanities-based subjects. It echoes across the entire curriculum. Science subjects particularly, for example, is male-dominated, and we need to really focus on why that is. And we've got so many wonderful people working with Athena Swan within the university, which is geared towards encouraging women to be more involved for themselves. And I think working with the liberation groups who know how things should be done, and they know themselves, because liberation is all about those groups specifically, and we need to really tap into that.
Okay, thank you guys very much. We're on to your role-specific questions, and I've seen already some cards going that way, but if you have some more questions for Twitter, let them roll. Right, so your first question, that's hopefully for your very specific, is from a student who asked, how would you ensure better, more efficient representation of our student views on the University Senate? I'm going to ask Finley to start, and then go to Liam, and then Tunde.
It's a very good question. So both myself and Liam actually, I've been a member of Academic Senate for the last couple of years as a school convener. I think what we need is to make sure that those who are representing students on Senate are actively seeking the views of students on academic issues. I've been probably on the wrong side of Ian Diamond quite a few times in my role as Senate, making sure that we stand up for students and actually aren't afraid to speak our minds and aren't afraid to see Senate as this kind of very, very formal body where we should be kind of letting the senior lecturers and the grown-ups, if you like, do all the talking. We need forceful student voices on Senate to defend our interests, and I will be one of those as your education officer, as I have been for the last 2 years.
Tunde?
I'll take it. All right. I've not been at the Senate, but I've been at lots of high-profile meetings in my experience, and it's about diplomacy, how to communicate ideas and receive feedback from them. Yes, they are the more senior figures, but then how we can put our ideas to them so they can understand and they can comprehend from our perspective what needs to change. Diplomacy is going to be key, and I believe I've got the skill to get our ideas pushed over to them and get it pushed through as well. Thank you.
And Liam?
So Senate is the highest governing body in terms of academic within the university, and this year I've worked really hard in making sure that students aren't just involved in that one final meeting where the decision is made. There are several committees which feed into Senate. So we have postgraduate, undergraduate committees and a teaching and learning committee where all directors of teaching and learning actually make the policy, they write it, and when you get to Senate there's very little opportunity until very recently, since Finley and several other school conveners were able to actually make change happen at Senate, that we ever got to input in outside those meetings. I've already tried really hard in getting postgraduate students guaranteed places on the postgraduate committee, which sounds really stupid, but they never actually invited postgraduate students. And I think it's getting students, or the school conveners, for example, in on undergraduate committee, in at postgraduate committee, all the levels that make up the Senate process involved from the very beginning, that they can really shape and develop policy that affects you ultimately as students.
Okay, thank you guys very much. The last question that I have here is on reading lists. So a student asks, why are reading lists notoriously late every year? Do you have a plan on advancing them sooner? Gonna start with you, Liam, and then if you could just pass.
Yes, I do have a plan on that. I've already spoken to several heads of school and asked why it is that we don't get reading lists early. And often it's because they don't publish the course guides, and it's because the courses are not available in My Aberdeen. So I've highlighted already there's a key issue in when we can be registered to courses, and we need to really iron out why we can't get advanced reading lists. So I want to work further with directors of teaching and learning, with the school conveners, to ensure that the course lists can be issued without the need for students to be on the courses, so that even if you're looking into the courses for your third year, for example, you can go to the library and even read in advance for that. I noticed that it's incredibly disadvantaging for a lot of students who don't necessarily have the opportunity to just buy their reading books. So we need to make sure that lists are available well in advance so that you can actually get the most out of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, just following on for that, I think it's an incredibly kind of doable task to make sure that our reading lists are up ahead of time, but also to make sure that the resources are there for students that need them. So that, for example, if there are texts that you have in your reading list, they should be available ideally online. We should make sure that people aren't having to spend huge amounts of money having to either print or buy course readers and things like that. So again, this kind of fits into the idea that education needs to be accessible to everyone, and people aren't priced out of education. So yes, essentially across all of the departments of the university, we need to make sure that our reading lists and course readers and things are available online, available free of charge if possible. And I'll work hard to do that. So.
Tunde.
Yeah, I also agree reading lists should be available as soon as possible, but we need to be careful here as well. We don't want a fixed reading list. The reading list is 2-3 years old, because we want reading list up there. Everything needs to be updated. Everything needs to be current. We just need to work with the lecturing body to ensure that the right information is available for us at the right time as well. So I will work to ensure that this balance is met and we would have it at the right time. Yep. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Right. So let's see what you guys left for me on Twitter. Laura? Okay. Yeah, will probably be better. Just taking 3. Thank you. Right. So this is something that comes up a lot. I'm going to start with Tunde this time. And the question from before is, how do you plan to improve the class rep system, academic rep system? If you plan to improve it, how do you plan to?
I believe the class representation system, it's determined by the students. And I believe that as how it should be. It should be a democratic process. So we might look to put in more than one person, 2 people, so you can have a deputy at the same time. So if the main class rep is not able to represent, then the deputy could come into place. But the process should remain democratic, I would say. And yeah, that is what an addition, if anything, to the democratic process. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, kind of following on from that, this democratic process is really important because I think one of the biggest issues with our class rep system is that you have a situation where, like, the first lecture, the lecturer will be like, who wants to be a class rep? And maybe like one person will put their hand up, right? So we need to work really hard on actually making sure we have greater engagement with the class rep system right from the start and who we get to actually be those class reps. And then I think building on progress that's already been made, which is providing extra training and support to those people who are class reps to make sure that they can, and work with the school conveners and the education committee to make sure that they can accurately represent the students and get the changes that they need on their courses.
Right.
So this last year, I really tried hard to make sure that the academic rep system was actually fit for purpose. We found beforehand, as Vinny mentioned, that loads of people were being selected, as opposed to elected to their positions, which is not fair, considering the system is meant to be democratic so that you decide who you want to represent you, not kind of through pressure or force. One key manifesto aim that I've been trying really hard so far is to make sure that we have as much online and live material for academic reps, so it's so easy to get involved. It's not a task. It's not something that you feel you can't get involved in, because for many students, especially in non-honours years, having to try and represent 200, 300, 400 students in one programme is simply too difficult. And we need to, as Tunde also said, maybe have more reps in courses which really need them and develop the training so that it really highlights the points specific to you. I think also with the rep system, we need to include a hell of a load of stuff around liberation in the curriculum to ensure that all student groups are represented in how we change and how we improve our courses. Because after all, it's not necessarily about holding them to account. It's also about making sure that the quality of education is as high as it can be.
Okay, so just 2 more questions. Both very, very relevant questions. And I'm going to ask Finley to start now, if that's all right. So this one is on academic feedback. And the student asks, poor or vague feedback seems to be a common theme across the university. How do you plan to tackle this? It's very much related to another question I'm just going to read out because they're very similar and maybe it'll give you some extra support in your question. Because the other student says, students are often dissatisfied with how their voices are heard or implicitly not heard by their professors and tutors. How would you ensure that these channels for dialogue are open? So in terms of feedback from your tutors, from your lecturers and your communication with them, what's your plan about it?
Okay, so yeah, kind of 2 directions there. One thing I think would be very good is to make sure that we emphasize feedback on academic work, and I think that should include examinable stuff either throughout the course or at the end of your exams, because I think a lot of people will benefit greatly from having much more detailed feedback, and that's actually relevant to what they're doing academically. The issue of kind of the other direction, if you like, we need to essentially, I think, have, I don't want to sound silly here, but like feedback on your feedback. We want that feedback to be like active so that we can hear from students that actually you get your feedback from your tutors or from your lecturers, and you say further to that, like, does that make sense? Do you understand? Do you want more information? Do you want more questions? And actually have a system which allows for that kind of two-way dialogue.
Okay, Liam and then Tunde.
So that question seems to cover two little bits, as Finley kind of highlighted there. The first thing I think is the feedback that you get for your courses, or any assessed work, I suppose, and also unassessed work that you submit is really important. And there are frameworks already that the university should be abiding by. And I think we need to push through our school conveners within each individual school to ensure that the school is following at least the bare minimum of what feedback should be and always pushing for extra. And if that means we have to submit a policy to Senate to ensure that there are rigorous guidelines for what feedback you deserve, then so be it. That's the method we should go down. As for opening a better dialogue with the university and ourselves, we have seen in the medical school a new system for rating courses. At the end of each lecture, you rate out of 5 and with a comment what you thought. And I think this information for reps would be really useful to move as a starting point to help make sure that feedback is constant on how your classes, how your courses are being developed.
Right, thank you very much.
Yeah, Laura, please, can you just repeat those questions?
Yeah, of course. I do realize they're both quite long. So the first one is on the feedback, on the academic feedback that you'd receive on your piece of work. And it says, poor, vague feedback seems to be a common theme across the university. How do you plan to tackle that? And relating to that, the second one is that students are often dissatisfied by lecturers and professors not hearing them or hearing them poorly. How would you ensure that these channels for dialogue are open? So it's really about, on the one hand, communication with your lecturers, feeling that your opinions are valued, but also about the feedback.
Yeah, I think we would look to creating probably a standard form. Good. This is a really good question. We could go back to where these questions are coming from and find out what you want to see on your feedback, and go around the whole school, not just from that source, and then created some kind of standard so that when they get back the feedback, there's satisfaction from seeing the information they're looking for in these feedback forms. So I think that would sound like a good route to go. We can get more of these kind of questions from engaging with you all, and then we'll look for solutions as well together, and we'll work with the university to implement them. That's what I'm supposed to be doing for you as your sabbatical officer. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And the very, very last question that we have here, I'm going to try and ask you guys to be creative, but also keep it short. What are you going to do for direct entrance? Liam, Finley, Tunde?
So direct entrance students are those that come through non-linear routes. And I think if you are a student coming in as a direct entrance student, you need that support to help make sure that the link between your previous institution and your current institution is solid, so that you aren't disadvantaged from other students who have gone through kind of the more normal route, as it were. I mean, it's not necessarily the right way to phrase it, but I think direct entry students haven't always got the support they needed in ensuring that the resources that they should get are there for them. And I think we need to push the university to ensure that all student groups, including direct entrance students and distant learners who are also sometimes direct entrance students, can get the most through their personal tutors.
Thank you.
Another great question. I love it. I was a direct entrance student, and so I think certainly for that first 6 months or so I was at university, I just didn't really know, who to go to for support, really how anything worked. And so I think it is about making sure that that we prioritise the kind of things that we would normally do sort of during Freshers Week for first-year students is all available for direct entrance if they're coming into second or third year as well. And on the academic side, I think we need to make sure that there's extra support and flexibility within course structures, so that, for example, if maybe they've not done the sort of first-year courses, or they've covered most of the material that would be prerequisite for second-year courses, that they aren't missing out on some of that extra stuff that would get done in first year, and that there's some flexibility for them to maybe pick up or sit in on the first-year courses as well. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I will have to agree with that. Flexibility will be very important for people that come in on this direct entry route. we need to work with them, with the course advisors, to identify the lacks or the parts, what they need updating, so that the university can provide them with the best support for them. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, those are our questions. Thank you very, very, very much. So what I'm going to ask you guys, if you'd like, is to take 30 seconds, please no more, and tell us why we should vote for you, and tell us why you want this job. I'm going to ask Finley, then Liam, then Tunde.
Okay, so why do I want this job? I've done a lot of work over the last couple of years in the time I've been a student as an activist and as a volunteer on education issues in particular and other issues as well. I want to do this job because I want to basically do much, much more and build on the work that I've been doing with many, many activists and students across the campus with the resources and with a full-time job that would allow me to do that. That would mean that the essential work that isn't just left on the shoulders of students and volunteers and that is people trying to, balance that on top of a full-time degree and a job as well. So I want to do this job. I want to fight for you. Please vote for me for education.
Thank you.
Practical solutions is what my manifesto aims to deliver, and I believe that over the last year I have delivered a lot of practical solutions, and I've helped make sure that your exam timetables, for example, are out earlier, and I have ensured that the class rep system, academic rep system, has been improved, and we do have more people involved in that, and you get the accreditation you deserve. And there are just some things that this last year has proven that we can move on over the next year with a strong education committee to ensure that your educational rights and your education improves further from what it already is. AUSA should be at the forefront of educational issues and should be there to support students, and I believe I'm the right person for that job, so please consider me when you vote.
Thank you. Tunde.
Thank you. I'd like to vote for you. I'd like you to vote for me because I believe I've got a good hybrid understanding of the educational system and where you want to be, which is in the workforce. So I can help you bridge that gap. I can help you cross that bridge and make the leap to where you want to be. And vote for me. Vote for Tunde Lasher for Education Officer. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you guys very much for sharing the stage with me. Thank you.